Ahoy! As of late, Hi-Rez has gotten a lot more thorough about hiding their files about upcoming guards and information in general that can be data mined, but for once we actually have a decent batch of information to talk about the new guard as well as some other SMITE related stuff. This info is from SMITE and as always it's subject to change, nothing is set in stone. Let's begin with the information about the next guard. Now, we have the guard trailer that showed all the guards coming out this year, but Hi-Rez said specifically that one of the guards would not be happening. And we had two guards from the trailer left. The first one was these islands, and the second one was this feast. The islands are very likely referring to Maui, whereas the feast afterwards was likely referring to Madame Brigitte, or at least some voodoo god. So, sadly, for me personally, it seems like the voodoo god is the one that is gonna be crossed out and either delayed or not released at all, which I was really hoping for, that we would be getting another voodoo god, and I really thought that would be a cool concept. But on the other hand, we have more information about Maui, who also seems pretty cool. So Maui isn't necessarily a god, but more of a folk hero. He wasn't really worshipped, but there were a lot of tales about him, and he is a Polynesian Trickster. In the datamining, he's labeled as deity number 123, and what we know about him so far are a few ability effects. So he has a deployable, he has a stun, he has a bubble tween FX, and he has a bubble explosion. So clearly we're gonna have some sort of water effect, some sort of water theme, which I think is very much straightforward with a god that has this whole theme revolving around an island. One of his stories, for example, is that he is responsible for the creation of Hawaii. But it's the next ability that especially stands out to me because it directly ties into his lore, and that is the fact that he has a skill that can pull a god. If you look into his lore, you can find a lot of things about his magic fishing hook. It's basically his signature thing throughout the stories, which allows him to do things like pulling islands from the sea ground. So that one is probably going to be a very fundamental aspect of his kit. I would imagine that this pulling mechanic can maybe play into multiple things more than just straight up pulling a god. And I'm very excited to see how that one will play out. I would imagine it's something more involved than, say, a Sylvanos pull. There is also an additional perk, but Ferreo from SMITE Datamining isn't sure if this one is actually referring to Maui or if this is some remnant from Ishtar's kit. And that is something, an effect, that hits guards, hits minions, stuns guards, and has a self-root. At first I thought this may be referring to Ishtar's 3, but it doesn't quite match either Ishtar's 3 or the ultimate. So I'm thinking this may actually be a piece of Maui's kit, which would also make sense from the perspective that he is going to be a guardian from what Hi-Rez has told us now. What is especially interesting about that to me is that he is compared to Atlas or Heracles because he also lifted up the heavens. So I wonder if they will have some unique taunts or maybe even unique interactions between them, kind of battling it out who's the one who held the heavens better or something. What's also going to be interesting is his visual representation, because according to his lore, there are various versions that they could go with. They could go with a very young guy, very old guy, something in between, it's all there. But obviously, a lot of people will have the concept of a Moana burned into their head a little bit, and I don't know if they're just gonna go with a similar concept to that, or something distinctly different. Now, we have no information about the next two gods after that, other than their numbers and that they're coming in January and February, which we already knew from the patch notes. However, we do have information on some other upcoming things. We have, for example, the first bits of information about the new adventure. We know that this is a Norse-themed PvP adventure, that was already in the patch notes, but there are some more details in the data mining. So it seems like the way to win this adventure is actually to accumulate 32,000 gold, a very unusual way to win. There is some form of spawn invulnerability, nothing surprising there, and there is a boss buff as well as a mini-boss trophy. And further, a note says that Nidhogger can spawn there, so maybe that's the mini-boss? Good chance. And now, even more interesting, there seem to be ships and they can move. Now, what I'm wondering, if they went all out with this and just went really crazy and knew that a lot of people love the stupidity of SMITE cars, and we're gonna actually have a PvP ship battle of some sort, and Nidhogger just pops up in between. Would be absolutely wild, just like a mini Sea of Thieves type of thing, but I would love it. Like, it would be exactly the type of adventure that I think a lot of people in the community would love, because it would be very meme-worthy as well. Obviously, that is not a given or anywhere near confirmed, though. This could literally just be some background ships moving around. What goes along with that is a skin that is datamined for patch 9.11, which is a Jormungandr skin for Nidhogger. So, yeah, we'll probably get that skin exactly when this event launches, and Jormungandr might just be a central part of it somehow. At the same time, if you were ever hoping for Nidhogger to come into the game as their own god, I think that hope is definitely crushed with this. If they give Jormungandr a Nidhogger skin, then I don't think we'll see the character separately at all. I know the King Arthur skin exists, but I think this one is a little bit more on the nose, and they are from the same pantheon and generally more similar, so I think that one's buried. What is most definitely not buried is the RuneScape crossover event. We have a lot more information here. So first of all, there are going to be some quests, some free quests, and maybe some that may be tied to some purchase that you have to get. Then there is a specific RuneScape chest. But what's really interesting is that there are a total of 69, nice, skins for this patch, for this particular event. That obviously sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it makes sense when you look at what types of skins these are. So, some of these skins are capes. There is a fire cape, a hunter cape, a woodcutting cape, a construction cape, and a summoning cape. Harris has already mentioned that the progression for unlocking cosmetics will be similar to RuneScape itself, so I guess we're just chopping trees in-game now. I'm not quite sure how that will work, obviously, but it seems that a variety of characters will be able to get these different capes, and then obviously the different styles are labeled as separate skins, but really they're just simple recolors of the same thing, essentially. There's also a link between RuneScape tracking and the Odyssey, so maybe one will give you extra points for the other. The capes also have some sort of tracking, like progression tracking, which again ties into this progression system which they're taking from RuneScape. The skins themselves are actual bundles, so I don't know what's in the bundle beyond the character skin itself, but there will be other things along with it. We have quite a few characters. The skins for Freya, Bellona, Varman, Merlin, and Cerberus. These skins also seem to be related to the Odyssey and somehow give points. Now, 4 of these skins seem easy enough to do with the capes because they're characters that just stand upright, but I have no idea how that's going to work with Cerberus. Maybe he'll have his own unique skins that look different from the others. But generally speaking, there seems to be this progression that I guess you unlock for every one of these characters, where you can unlock the different capes, probably other gear as well. And if it's anything like RuneScape, it might be a fair bit grindy to actually unlock all of the capes. There's also a tiny bit of information about Season 10 Conquest, which is that the damage, mana, void, and support buff will return, and there will be a Dryad and Elder Dryad. Not really much to go by yet, but just a little bit of information here. In case you missed it and you're interested, I have started making some New World videos again, so make sure that your subscription settings are set up so that you get notified if you want to see that. Feel free to check them out. Other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one soon. SLOTH, out.